My name is Ridade. I'm an artist and I am a Circassian. I originate from the Northwest Caucasus, and it's a series of mountains between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, and Circassia is located nearby the Black Sea. It's not independent, hence nobody knows about it, and it's part of the Russian Federation. And what happened was that after living in different countries, I eventually moved to England. And when I was introduced to Penzance by my best friend, I was absolutely blown away by its beauty. And especially since there are many artists, the creative scene is very vibrant. You get many different varieties of forms of artists doing different forms of art, whether it's music, theatre, dance. It's readily available, accessible. I mean, London was another option I thought of, but I felt much more at ease here than being in London for myself. In terms of what I do, I'm an illustrator, a dancer, and I also branch out into music from time to time in terms of performance. And when I compose my own music, I listen to my emotions. And what I find most intriguing about performers is the way they express their emotions. And that's what inspires me most as an artist, is the way that one would express their emotions. There are many ways, and all emotions are beautiful. I don't find any one of them as a specific mean for an artist to use. But for me, I prefer the emotion of love, and other artists like other emotions.
Could you describe some of your work for us, some of your art?
My work has been described as being lyrical, like that of Chagall, Dufay, very linear and stylized line drawings, a bit of the 1960s era and of Aubrey Beardsley. And there's also a very strong element of romanticism, which I find most influential from the pre-Raphaelite era. And then when it comes to music, I like to compose music based on lyrical style of singing, elongation of the vocals, and I have been under the influence of the Cranberries vocalist. She's very good in conveying emotions, and she does it with such fire and passion. She and Alanis Morissette and the many others which I could list, but I'll just list those two as my main contributors to my style of singing. And when it comes to dance, it is as well as the same as my drawing and singing, quite lyrical. And occasionally I would integrate modern types of dancing according to Arthur Laban, a very modern person who was one of the founding fathers of the modern dance scenes. And I would integrate a bit of his concepts in my dances. I also studied stage and theatre. I was an actress for a year as a voluntary actress on stage. And lately, past 2 weeks, I've been very busy working on vocals. And in terms of performance, I was involved in a theatrical production which involved dancing, singing, acting and drawing live.
where was that here?
That was at the Acorn Theatre in Penzance.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Oh, just anybody that we might know?
Oh yes, Jonathon Xavier Courdrille.
Oh yes, we've met him already today. So, what's the future hold for Ridade then?
Well, I thought of my forte, what I love doing most, and I'd like to take fashion illustration as a mainstream dream to follow. I've been told many a time by figures, whether they were passers-by, whether they were influential figures, managers of creative companies, they'd always say the same thing: head for fashion illustration. And I've been thinking about it and working on it, so hopefully that's one area I'd like to get into. But I never stop putting myself into other scenes. I don't believe in boxes. I believe in collaborating, so there's that, alongside my main dream.
Excellent, that sounds great. So, one last question, bring it back. I see you about the local music scene quite a lot, and you follow all the bands. Could you tell me who are your favourite bands and why? Local bands to Penzance.
There are some really interesting bands which I found for my liking. Hanterhir, Petite, Debauche, and there's also one more band which I couldn't quite grasp their style of music. But the more I listened to them, the more I became interested. And there are basically 3 boys, and I can't remember their name, but they have such an interesting style. One plays the organ, and the other 2, they have their own style of singing. They were once featured in a session at the Open Studio Bar, Open Day. But
was it the Cubs?
Yes, that's right.
The Cubs. Yeah.
They had a very unusual name. That's why it just went to
you
miss.
like the Cubs? Yeah, they're brilliant. And I think we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. That's
and
great.
thank you.
We'll leave it.
Thank you for your
To
time.
ask you any questions, you sort of covered everything in one go there. That was great. That was fantastic.